the best way to describe it, if you got a headache and you take a Panadol, your headache goes. And I'm going to tell you, this is the Panadol of data collection, right? And I'm not running this on my own. I'm running it with an agent that has got a bias and a tendency and a love for data and technology, but also lists and sells real estate. So he's able to talk to us as a real estate agent. I've got with me Henry Hodge. How are you, Henry?
Yeah, good, Tom. How are you?
Very well. And I'm sorry to hear that you've woken up this morning with a virus or a chest infection or something. Yeah. But
the flu
how are you feeling?
Come early this year.
Feeling okay?
Feeling okay, mate. Feeling okay.
Okay. We'll get through it. So Henry, the first thing is I want to let everyone know that ID4me, yes, I have a relationship with ID4me. I've got a ambassador role for it. And I want to let everyone know, I get asked on a regular basis, I would say more like weekly, not monthly, by companies for me to actually align myself with them. And I am very, very selective. I only pick businesses that solve problems. I'm not interested in picking up a financial gain if it's actually not helping clients. And I think this business here, ID4me, Henry, solves a few problems for real estate agents. And I want you to tell me how it's helped you and how you can see it helping real estate agents who are trying to build market share, trying to get known in the area, and trying to get cut through into their core area in these challenging times. How does it help?
It helps at a lot of things. I think probably what I'll do is I'll break down my sort of background first, Tom, and then explain why and how I ended up getting here. So I am a full stack software developer by trade. I can program in 4 languages. Last year, I actually started culling prop techs from our business, like at scale. So now we're down to only, I think it's 3 or 4 things that we use and some various other things that aren't real estate related that we use. One of the things that I sort of wanted to look at is, a data provider. And then obviously I was chatting to you and you told me about this, and curiosity led to, the relationship I've built with the guys. They don't give me anything. I just believe in their product. And, in terms of being able to give back to the industry, I advocate for it. I think it makes a lot of people's jobs easier. And in terms of fraction, there's nothing better than it. As I was sort of explaining to you before you opened up the call, there's sort of two thoughts I've got around it is, if it existed when I first started back in real estate 8 years ago, would have done things very differently, and how it's advantaged me now. So last year, I had my wedding, which was great, and then I became very ill. So I didn't actually do a lot of real estate last year. And as most would know, if you're not nurturing your database, a lot of the data that you've got or you're holding on to can become very irrelevant very quickly. So what you're sort of looking for is, how do you bounce back quickly? Or, people have peaks and troughs. Real estate can be challenging on the mind. So you don't necessarily have to be sick. You might have had other things that were affecting you. So to be able to bounce back quickly, get momentum, this is great for that, because it always starts with data, people to call.
But specifically, so if you've been out of action, and you come back and you turn around and you say, data's expired, or you just haven't stayed in contact with it, explain, how does ID4me help in that instance?
So let's say you're, most of the top real estate coaches in the country say, find 1,000 pieces of data and work that data religiously. So if you get lazy or you become unwell like I did, your 1,000 bits of data can turn into, 600 or 400 bits of data because you've had 400 of those people sell in 12 months. So the only way you can get to working 1,000 bits of data again is find new data, start building new relationships. And for me, when I first started in real estate, I had 0 relationships in the area that I started in. So I used to go door knocking all day, and the return on investment for door knocking isn't great, but it's a great way for someone that doesn't have any data to get into it. And I'm not saying that people shouldn't go door knocking, but when you look at the time that you invest in door knocking versus paying, $160 a month for ID4me, you don't need to be a, economics grad to work out, what's a better investment. It's the iteration of doing things and repeating.
Danny's just corrected. It's 130.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll have to pay annoying person tax or something.
Okay, so essentially what you're saying is when you go out and door knock, you're essentially saying door knocking is better than nothing, right? Because it gets you out there. But what you're also saying is now that there is ID4me, that your return of investment, instead of you going out door knocking people, some will speak to you, some won't be there. Some won't speak to you. Some will think that you're pushing religion. Some will think to yourselves that you're going to harass them, so they won't open up the door. What you're saying is a return of investment of $130 a month is it going to achieve that? Like, what do you get out of ID4me? Explain that. What do you get? You get data.
It's the time that you put into it. And, I figured last night when I was thinking about, how do we make this relevant and helpful to people is if you break it down and you're trying to work out how do I get those 1,000 pieces of data for someone that's just starting in real estate today, day one, or someone that is trying to bump their numbers back up to get to those 1,000 pieces of data. What that looks like is about 20 records per hour if you're pretty computer efficient. If you're not so computer efficient, it might be 10 an hour. So what you're looking at there is, if you invest 2 or 3 hours a day for 6 days a week, you can do 7 as well, and you can do more hours if you want. It's just I'm just trying to make it a manageable exercise for everyone. Is by the end of that month, you've built that 1,000 pieces of data. So then you start calling through it, emailing it, offering them services and building relationships. It's not so much about, trying to, if you luck it out, you'll find a listing straight away. And we found a couple when I've gone to rebuild the database this year. But the most important thing is, building new relationships and nurturing those relationships. And then down the track, they will become sellers. And if you can find a way to manage more than 1,000 bits of data, then keep going. That's the beauty of it. It's I'm just looking at it here now on the other screen. I won't share the screen because of privacy laws. But if you sign up, you can get it. Like for example, New Farm's the area that I work in. When I do a suburb search for New Farm, there's 57,572 records. For anyone that's gone door knocking and knows how long it takes to knock on 100 doors, when you measure that time investment against that many records, it's pretty impressive. It's I wish I could go back in a time machine and have something like this back then. It's now I think back at it, and the only thing that door knocking was good for is it kept me a lot leaner than I am now. So it wasn't all bad.
Susan, can I get Susan? She's just doing it in there. For those of you that are asking already what the link is, Susan's actually put that in the chat box, and Susan will actually also put it on Facebook for those that are sitting there. Now, Henry, essentially what you're saying to us is that from your experience, in 1 month, you can go from 0 to 1,000 pieces of clean data, which is name, address, mobile, email.
Not everyone's email is in there, but it's pretty high. And you'll find that some of the phone numbers aren't entirely accurate. So there is a bit of a teething process there as well. But I just, when I sort of think back to when I started and the results I've seen now, trying to rebuild the business after having health complications last year, I can't think of anything else in the business that I'm investing in that is going to offer the return on investment that this does, in terms of being able to buy, I think Danny said $130, and you're basically buying your whole entire BDA in a month. I've never heard of that before. I just think you're really selling yourself short if you don't do it. And I remember when I first started in real estate too, Tom, not a lot of offices have open databases. So for someone that's, starting out, you're kind of trying to nag the principal or other agents in the office for old OFI books, or you're trying to use other methods to find data. That there's not a lot of collaboration. We run an open database so that we're not calling the same person with 10 different people and annoying the hell out of them. As you know, I'm pretty data obsessed and consumer experience obsessed. So our policy is you share the data, and if you don't like it, go somewhere else. But I think for someone that's in an office where, you're responsible for your own data, then, something like this, it's almost like better than hiring a PA or anything. It's just a better investment in terms of getting traction and getting momentum quickly and early.
I've got an anonymous question, and I'm going to answer things as they go in.
Sure.
The question is, what happens when you ring a number for a property, but in fact you get the tenant instead of the actual owner of the property? Well, I would suggest the conversation is, I want to apologise. You're not the person that I want to be speaking to. That's my best response. As to people that turn around and say, where did you get the data? I can tell you, Henry, when I get clients, so I've got a lot of clients now that are actually using ID4me, and they tell me that if a client ever asks them, where did you get my information? They're just very clean and open and say, I've got to let you know, your information is out in a number of databases. We subscribe to a number of databases, and that's where we got it,
Yeah, honesty is always the best policy.
A couple of other questions here. Where do they harvest? It says, where do they harvest their data from? And I don't know, Henry, whether you know the answer to that. You're not from ID4me, but my understanding is that they use multiple sources, and that's what ID4me's model is. They go off and they're looking at lots of data sources and they collate it from there. Krishna says, what do you do if you get 10 different names and number for one property?
These questions are.
Yeah, they're coming up here. Is this Australia-wide? I'm in Darwin. The answer is yes, it is. It is Australia-wide. Beautiful. Can I just also say to you now, Henry, like, you've just spent time talking to me today about building a database from scratch, from 0 to 1,000 using this. Henry, in fact, there are real estate agents that are telling me that that's one of the strategic reasons they're using ID4me. But I find that there's a lot of agents that tell me what they're doing is they're doing a quick suss out the person. Someone walks into an open home and they quickly go in and suss out who that person is to work out, whether they own multiple properties, a little bit about them. There's a few social media handles on those data results as well, that you can suss out people on social media. And then also the simple one, which is expireds and withdrawn listings. Often agents, the reason why the agent doesn't make the call is it's actually hard to call the person. And this is driving around, you have a quick look, you're at 10 Johnson Road, you see the property's been on the market for a few months, you put it in, you get the owner's details. You're more inclined to ring someone if you've got their number.
Yeah, for sure. I'm just looking down these questions. I'm just sort of going to pool everything into a big response. In relation to tenants' details and owners' details, ID4me is a consumer data provider. They're not a property data provider. So the reason why other providers may be giving you tenants' details is because they're not using the same data set. So data sets are, programmatically speaking, big pools of data where something is sourcing information from. So ID4me specialise in people's data, not property data. So if you're looking in a property data service for people's data, that's like going to the ice cream shop to buy health food. You want to be using ID4me to find people's data, and it's a lot more accurate. It works in most established areas. Like I said, that where I work's pretty established. It's if you've got 7,000 contacts. So yeah, look, I mean, it's for what you pay for it, it's incredibly good value. In terms of data in areas, I'm not particularly sure, but I have seen and have spoken to ID4me, and there's a lot of people that are using this that are having success with it. But the point I really wanted to drum home today is for someone that's starting in the industry or had some sort of experience where they haven't been able to work in their business for a long period of time and they're trying to get traction again. The best place to start to get traction is data. And there is nothing better for a real estate agent to use to get that data, to get that traction.
Okay. Any other questions you want to answer there?
In terms of 10 different names and numbers, like I said, I can't show the actual ID4me screen because I can't disclose data to public, but the UI UX in it, it's quite well thought out. So you can actually click on, you can search someone's name or a suburb, and then it'll return the phone numbers. And you will get scenarios where there may be multiple phone numbers attached to that person. But what you can actually do is click on the mobile number that appears. And if you see that that mobile number is shared by a couple of different names, then it's fair to assume that that number could be owned by a couple of different people. And then if you click on the name again, it'll then return back and show you a list again. So you can actually kind of filter through it and find out, okay, well, if that person's the only person, or that name is the only person associated to that mobile number record, then it's fair to assume that is the owner of that property. So it's not like other sources where agents might source data and you don't have the ability to sort of play around with the data a bit to see what the accuracy of it's like. Is the interface for ID4me is dynamic in a way where it, and what dynamic means is that the user can interact with it. So you can actually move the data around and click drop down menus to see if there's other people at that address. So the other cool thing is you'll sort of find that sometimes you hit two birds with one stone. So you might have two owners for one property, right? You click the drop down menu and it'll have the first owner's details and then the second owner's details, and then you might have no email for the first one and then an email for the second one. So what that means is if the first number is not correct, well, it's giving you the second number as well. And then it's so I'm just trying to find what I was going to talk about next because I'm sort of watching the second screen while I'm talking to you, Tom.
Tom, a lot of these
So-
questions, sorry to interrupt, a lot of these questions
Yep.
are about the product. Danny's on in the background. Should we get
Yep.
Danny on to help with some of these questions?
Yeah, I said in terms of the product, Danny's better to answer the questions in terms of how to use the product as an agent to your best advantage.
If Danny's on for a quick moment, I'd love to.
Yeah.
Hey, Danny, how are you?
Yeah, good mate. How are you all?
Good, Danny. A couple of questions because I don't want to be getting someone who's a user of the product and not part of ID4me answering on your behalf. Can I just quickly run through some of these? So Lisa says, I've searched for numbers by address and none of the numbers were I've searched for numbers by address and none of the numbers were owners. Your response to that?
Well, we flag owners, but we can't flag them all the time. We probably have 70% of the database that has owner and renter details. So
Okay.
some places, some areas, it's geographic limitations in some areas. So,
Okay. Richard says, what do you say to them when you ring them for the first time? Oh, well, I've covered it. But Richard, if you're calling them for the first time, you've got to be calling with a purpose. So if you've got 11 Smith Street, what you should be ringing up to say to them is, hey, it's Tom Panos here. The reason I'm calling you is I know you're not selling. I'm going to be very brief. Number 14 Smith Street's just come onto the market and it's in your area. And I just wanted to let you know because it's a relevant sale. So Richard, you're not calling them to say, hey, I've just got your data from ID4me and I'm just calling you for no reason. You call with the purpose, just listed, just sold, anniversary call. Anything that's got a reason to it. Let's move on to the next question. Jesse says, if you are just starting out, what you should talk to your clients about? Well, I've just answered that, Jesse. Anonymous, is the program a more accurate, advanced RP data? It's different to RP data. It's different to RP data.
It fills the gaps. It fills the gaps. So all the agents and all the feedback we have is it's filling the gaps for RP data and price finders. So they're able to, they know a property, it's for sale or they're getting the information. Then they're able to now put a mobile and an email to a name and an address. So it's just filling the gaps.
Okay. It says, are there suburbs assigned to particular agents and new clients to ID4me can't gain access to these details? No, that's not true.
No, not at all.
There's no exclusivity that another agent, but on the same point, there's a good chance that an agent in your area is an ID4me subscriber.
Yep.
How frequently is the data updated, Danny?
Look, the data, most of the data is updated every night. So we get call logs. So we buy data that has been contacted nightly for different reasons. It could be for solar, it could be for electricity, so on and so forth. And we also update our DNCR, do not call register, monthly. So you'll know that you can or can't call someone, how you should take that call. But most of the data is updated. Obviously, it underpins the 16 million original records, and we just keep updating. We've got about 19 million. Plus historical. So we go back 15 years. That's why you will find 10 details for one person, because it's historical. They've been there for that long, and we've been capturing the data for the last 15 years.
Okay.
So, but you can filter by date on the system. So.
Okay, then it goes on. There's another question here. How does ID4me work? For example, if I search a suburb, will it give me all the phone numbers and addresses? You can search by name. You can search by suburb. So I go in. I search.
That's what I just did before with New Farm.
Yeah.
Right.
Sorry.
Yeah.
It's a full reverse search product. So you can put a date of birth. It gives you everyone who's 74 years old in the whole area. If you're looking at people to downsize and so on and so forth, you can search by email, mobile address, name, the whole lot, date of birth.
Okay. Then we've got Paul Beckett. Does it work in New Zealand? The answer is no, isn't it?
Well, look, we've got New Zealand data. It's limited. So we've got all the household details and the landlines, but we have limited emails and limited mobile numbers due to their Privacy Act and the way data works in New Zealand.
Yeah. Is there an option to trial before committed to ID4me? I don't think there is, but what I think you can do is you sit through a demonstration with an ID4me person, and you actually do see the back end. And at the end of that process, you can work out whether it's for you or if it's not for you. I think you're success. Every person that I know that's had a demo signs up.
Can I say something there? I think it's an agent mentality. I asked Danny the same thing. Like everyone hates subscribing to something that they aren't necessarily sold on or it's proven to. And Danny's like, no, mate, no trial. You sign up. We listed a unit the other day that I didn't have the data for 2 months ago, and the GCI off that unit, Tom, will be 12,000. Now, had I bickered and made my decision, I'm not going to use this thing on the basis that Danny's not giving me a trial, we wouldn't have listed that unit and sold that unit. So, if you're squabbling over $130 and you're worried about whether the thing's going to work, and that's your, I'm not trying to be critical here, but the attitude should be, think about the numbers that you don't have or you're never going to get that you will get, and what that could potentially net you later on.
Okay.
That should be the focus.
Yeah, I agree with you. I got to tell you, listen, team, anyone that's serious about business should be serious about growth. Anyone that's serious about growth is not looking at cost minimization. They're actually looking at growth creation. How do I create more sales, right? I'm going here. If there's a question here. If I give you a list of 1,000 addresses of properties in interested, could I pay for the extra information I have and update it with you helping me with the phone number and email? I only have addresses, so I think the bottom line is that what they're saying is, can they give you the addresses and you go off and do the work for them? I don't think you've understood how the model works. It's a subscription model. You pay for it, you use it yourself. I'm not quite sure, Danny, you don't have anything beyond that model, do you?
We do data washing and appending. We do a correction of data. We do suburbs for customers. So we're a data company. So we're not only dealing with real estate agents, we're agnostic. We deal with banking and finance and big marketing companies globally. So we can, if you say you're working in, for instance, Paddington in New South Wales, and you want everyone that lives there, we can supply that as a list. But I think that's not the ID4me conversation. That's more the data supply, marketing data conversation. That's not a reverse search thing. And we can data wash and we can append data to your current lists.
So they would just pay you for that service?
Correct. So that'll be per record. That's a per record service. So it's a very different proposition.
Okay. So the bottom line is, to the person that wrote that question, I would hit up ID4me. It is available. I got a funny feeling it's going to be not as good value. I think it's going to be expensive. I could be wrong, but anything that is a custom designed thing requires manual labor, and that becomes expensive. Jesse asked, but what do you do if you do not have any properties in that area but want to get established? How should you go about it? Well, I think Jesse has. I think
it goes back to that 1,000 properties. There's a similarity between the two questions. Is what I would actually be doing, and this is what we've done, is you go, all right, here's a spreadsheet of 1,000 properties. Here's the ones that I don't have details for, that I want to get details for. And then you just copy paste out of the spreadsheet into ID4me, put the address in, and then it has a list of people associated with that address. If you've got means of finding out who the owner's details are, and you see that name pop up on that list, then it's fair to assume that's the owner. So you can copy that phone number from ID4me, put it in your spreadsheet, move to the next property. And like I said, Tom, it's iteration. You just follow that process, and then all of a sudden you've got an extra 500 numbers that you didn't have last month. You nurture those over time and watch your business grow.
Okay, so there's a question here, Henry, or maybe Danny, whoever wants to answer it, and that is, how many users are available to access on a monthly account? It's one person, isn't it?
Yeah, it's one person, 2 logins. So you can have your laptop and your mobile or your tablet when you go out to see a client, or go for an open inspection. So if someone else shares a login and the third person tries to get in, it'll block the first person. So each office person has to have their own login.
Okay.
And you know, we're having now offices sign up multiple users out of the one office. So the value of it.
Accuracy in rural areas. What's it like?
Look, like anything, if we've got the data and we're updating it to a single customer view, we're getting updated data. So we're buying data, we're validating it through different channels. We would say the accuracy is about 96%, give or take. A lot of rural and country, like holiday destinations, for instance, will have absentee owners, will have their details there, but they're not actually living there, they're holiday owners. We still have the details.
Okay, Stephen Brown just commented, I have it and I think it's amazing. Well,
thanks,
mate,
Stephen.
most of the clients that have got it do think it's amazing. Then we've got an anonymous attendee. What is the minimum subscription? What is the minimum subscription, please? Is there a contract or a commitment?
So yeah, I can answer that if you want, Tom. So you can look. It's $130 per month, but you can cancel after the first month. The payments are done automatically subscribed through PayPal, and we can just cancel your subscription on an email. No problem. But you'll have to pay for the first month.
Okay. Tim says, can filtered search data be exported in specific file types?
Yeah, Henry. So you can export the data in text, in Excel, and also on a print as a print PDF. But you can only do 10 records at a time. You cannot do more than 10 records at a time.
Okay. Yeah. Stan Platis, good old Stan, one of the great thought leaders of real estate in the country. Stan has just said, bloody great, mate, to get a testimonial from Stan on it, that's very good. He says, bloody great product, a must for an agent wanting to genuinely grow their business. One condition, you need to call and talk to people. Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. You got to do the sit-ups yourself. You can pay to go in the gym, but you got to do the sit-ups. Of course, you've got to make the calls, right? A lot of engagement here. A lot of people asking, can you search people via mobile number?
Yes.
Yes, you can.
And email as well.
And email as well.
Yeah.
Address, date of birth, everything.
Okay, Leedon's just asked, she says, is there a certain way to look it up? Do you put the +61 or do you put 04?
No, you just put 04. But you know what I think for all these people asking a question, I think Susan on the side there has put the demo logins. We've got 3 or 4 guys that are experts in demonstrating and signing people up. So what a lot of these people, a lot of the guys online today, obviously not using it. They need to go and do a demo, or they can do it if they're savvy enough, they can do it themselves and just jump on. But you can jump on and still organise a demo. But I think the demo is the way to go because we show you how to use it. And Frank is one of the ex-real estate agents, and John, they will show you how you use it within the real estate world, how you will use it, you know, with RP data and so on and so forth.
Okay, so the bottom line is, and this is very timely because we're just about up to time. Bottom line is what you're saying is, listen, jump on. The URL's there, both in the chat box and on Facebook. Book yourself a time. Henry, I want to thank you so much. You've been outstanding being able to give it to us in non-tech talk. And for you, what I get out of it is it can save a newer agent or an agent that simply just doesn't have the data. It can save you a lot of time, money, and heartache building a robust database, because we know, team, powerful lists equal powerful results. And one of the reasons why people suck in sales is they don't have a powerful list. And what you're saying, Henry, is that you can create a powerful list within 30 days. If you put time and effort, you'll end up having a database which will be your superannuation policy for real estate.
Yeah, everyone's looking for a way to make real estate easier. And I think for someone who is, you know, a programmer and has been since I was about 14, I'm 38 now, I would actually subscribe to this. If I could start real estate over again, I would actually subscribe to this before any other prop techs. So I'm not talking about CRMs, like you need a CRM to manage things efficiently. I'm talking more about, you know, the prop techs that are out there to make your job easier. I would be signing up to this before I signed up to those prop techs, because those prop techs are not really going to do what you want or what you need if you don't have the data in the first place. So you're better off signing up to this, getting the data, working it like that other person was saying. You know, you have to make the calls, send text messages, send emails, get traction. You know, go and list that unit like we did the other day off the data that we got from ID4me, and then you can, you know, afford to invest in those other prop techs. But if I was starting over again day one, I wouldn't be door knocking unless there was no way to get that data whatsoever. I'd be signing up to this in a heartbeat. You know, getting those 1,000 pieces of data, working that data, building those relationships and talking to them, and then looking at other things later.
All righty. Gentlemen, I want to thank you so much. Both
Thank
of you.
you. Thanks, Tom.
I really
Thanks, Henry.
appreciate
Happy to
it.
help.
Team, let's
Thank
get
you,
to
guys.
it. Hit them up.
See ya.
ID4me. There's the URL. Signing off.